Okay. Good afternoon. Today is the training for KPMIC on February 20th, 2019. Today we will go through some of the basics, including the My Account section. We will also go through the My Company section, and if you haven't taken a look at this in a while for your company, it's probably a good idea to just go review there and see what you can set up as far as the master templates and all of the company level items within KPMIC. Then finally, we will touch on the forecast, and that's in two different terms. One will be for the DIRTT forecast, and then the other for the internal forecast. So without further ado, I'll jump over to the training environment here, where I have the My Account page pulled up. And before I jump in, let me just make sure that everyone knows where they can access the My Account section. So up here in the top right, we've got this set of 4 buttons, and these are really available from any page within the application. So clicking this avatar icon here will bring you to the My Account page, and this is where you can adjust any of your personal information, your email settings, and change your password, do all of those things. So I'll just step through the different sections here just to let you know what the various options you have are. So starting from the basics, you got your full name, which is editable, as well as your email and phone number. The one thing that's not editable here is your username. After that, we have our email reminders. So from here, you can configure what email reminders you want to be signed up for, as well as the timeline you want your past due task reminder to come out. And your options there are 1, 2, or 3 days past due. Also have the ability to toggle on or off the project charts. So from the project overview page, there's some charts that are project specific if you were to single click on any of the projects in the grid below. If you do not want those, you are able to toggle those over to no. And these two I do want to touch on because they are fairly new, is the default homepage. This previously would just direct everyone towards the project overview. But now we've set it up so that you can custom configure yours if you have a different place you'd like to land when you log into the application. So of course, we still have the option to land on the project overview page. If you're more business development focused, you can land on the opportunity overview page, the forecast, or tasks. And we also have both the project summary and opportunity summary pages available from here as well. One handy thing about the opportunity summary in particular is that you can see a little bit more information about any individual opportunity versus the opportunity overview. And you can also make updates from that page really easily, like for your expected sign date or expected order date, stuff like that. And then finally, my personal favorite from here is the last opportunity or project. So whatever project or opportunity you were working on last, the system will save it and it will take you there when you log in. So it's just an easy way to get rolling again. The next piece here is for the default location. So if your partner has multiple different branches across several locations, you can set up a default location, and whenever you create a new opportunity, it will automatically be aligned to that location. This next field is just to automatically include your account within team lists. Typically, this only applies when someone has left your organization and you want to flip them over to no. So, of course, mine is yes. And then down here, we have your language settings. Really, that's primarily for the dates. So English United States versus English Canada. Then your time zone and your security question, security answer, and then you can change your password here as well. Over here on the personal information, you can set your position type, birth date, start date, end date, and you can also load a picture. When you load a picture, instead of this avatar icon, you will have the picture you upload. The next thing we'll take a look at here is the building icon to the left of the avatar icon. It has been pointed out that this building looks suspiciously like a waffle. So the building or waffle icon is where you find all of your My Company information. So there's a lot here, and we will go through all of it. Some of it we'll just kind of touch on high level, but the first thing that I want to point out is there are a bunch of different tabs within this page. So to start with, we have your My Company information. Then we also have really different tabs here for all of the different areas where you can manage your really master templates for Kinetech for your company, and as well as like the different project fees and common tasks, et cetera, et cetera. So like I said, most people set up the My Company page and they set it up and it's kind of a set it and forget it. Once you have it set up, you're good to go. I think every once in a while, it's good to go take a look at what you have out here and to see if there's anything that you're not taking advantage of that you think would actually really be helpful to your organization. So hopefully, as we go through this, maybe you'll find something that you're not using that you could be using. Or if you go through it on your own, maybe you find something that's a little bit out of date that you can just update. So if you've been, well, we'll go through some of the specifics later. First, let me start with this page, and then we'll step through tab by tab. So starting up here at the top, we've got the name of your company. This is the only part that's hard-coded. So if you ever do need to change the name of your company, just get in touch with us at support@kinetechcloud.com or reach out to myself at john.lamb@kinetechcloud.com, and I'm more than happy to change that for you. Then we also have our fax, FedEx number, and then we've got our storage figures here, and this default sales tax, this is for your change order specifically. The next, I had mentioned the locations as something that you can select within the My Account section. This is where you can manage those. And I do want to point out just a couple of quick things on location. The first is that you'll always have a headquarters location, and you can see here that this is not editable. The reason for that is you've got to set a different location as the headquarters if you do want to change it. So we want to make sure that you always have a headquarters location, and the reason for that is because this is the address that is going to pull through to your header information on any of the documents that you produce out of Kinetech. The other neat thing that you can do about this is you can also use one of your different locations to pull through on related documents to that location. So if you do want, say, the Austin address to pull through on all opportunities related to Austin, all you have to do is flag this slider over to yes, and that will cause the headers to be specific to that location. Otherwise, everything else will be the headquarters. And you can see here that we could make this headquarters that will flip the other one over to no. The next, throughout the application, there's places to add your warehouse address. You can use, when you're building a project or opportunity, you've got a bunch of different addresses that you might use as your ship to location or your or other like delivery locations. So within here, you can pick your address, or you can pick a warehouse for the DP. You can pick a vendor warehouse. You can pick the project location. Whenever you're picking a DP warehouse, that is what's going to, this is going to be the list it pulls from. So if you just have one, it'll always just pick the first one. If you have multiple, it'll give you the option to pick from the list you have set up. Next, we have the My Colleagues section. This has got everyone who is a member of your company that you have set up within Kinetech. So I'd mentioned this include account flag. So if you do find someone within your My Company that you know has left the firm and no longer needs to be assigned items out of KPMIC, you can just flip them over to no. That's within your control. And then you can also see if they are an active user. So if you are curious how many seats you have, typically it's going to be in line with the number of active users you have. So if you do need to swap one, you can just let us know and we can do that for you. The next section here has had a small update. Previously, you were able to select your DIRTT, and that would be automatically assigned for all of your different projects as you convert them from opportunity to project. Now you can select all three roles, so you can select your technician, your sales rep, as well as your project manager here. It's as easy as just clicking this button, select the appropriate person from DIRTT, and then they will automatically be added to your project as the appropriate role. The other thing you can do is you can add people to this list down here. So if they don't necessarily have one of these three roles, but you do want them included on all of your projects automatically, You can add them down here, and then as you convert from opportunity to project, they will always be automatically included on that project team. So I'm going to touch on these various different tabs. I'm going to do it relatively quickly. The first one is, and the objective here is really to show you what's available primarily. So the first is for your schedule templates. This function was added last year. Before that, everyone's schedule was by default just set up as the DIRTT standard schedule with the recommended timelines there. And now you can set up as many custom schedules as you'd like, and you can pull those into any of your projects or opportunities as you need. So this will give you a multitude of different starting places, and all you have to do is get them set up here. What it will do when you pull them into a project, it will always use the end date and just back into everything else when you import it. Next here, whenever you create an RFQ, there are a few different sections to it. So you've got the scope of work, the verification of requests, as well as the specifications. So within here, you can set up a template that you can use for each one of your RFQs. You can see that this one has some checkboxes. So as we're putting together RFQs, we just select what applies for that specific one. So once we set it up here, it will flow through to every new RFQ we create. Next, we've got the quotes under the contract information. So we've got our standard response, our standard terms and conditions, and then standard exclusions below that. Same thing here. Once you set it up, it will pull through to all newly created quotes. So you can set everything up here in a way that makes it so you don't have to remember each and every last item that you might want to include in a quote. One rule of thumb that we've seen partners have a lot of success with is just include everything here that might apply, and then for your specific quote, just delete out what does not apply. It's a lot easier to just know that that doesn't apply versus trying to remember every last thing. So I'll go ahead and collapse these quote ones. And then the last thing here is the change orders for the notes on pricing. You are able to adjust that by default. It'll just say all applicable fees and taxes are included. If you do need that to say something that is specific to your partner, you can update that here. You can also generate closeout documents from your project. So that includes both warranties. So if you have something specific to your company that you want to include as far as your warranty descriptions, you can input those all here. And then the next one is for the substantial completion information. So you can fill all this out and then just generate a document. It's really handy to be able to do that. It'll always pre-populate with your project information. It'll give you a place where the relevant parties can sign as well. The next, we've got project fees. So there are 3 different fees included on this page that you can just pull into your quotes. You can pull it into a change order, or you can pull it into a pay application. So the idea here is to set up some frequent products that you might use across many different opportunities when you are scoping them out. So if you have a COM glass vendor that you use a lot, this will save you a little bit of time in that you don't have to create the description, you don't have to add the vendor again. And if there is a standard unit cost, you can include that too. You can see that several of these lines here are just zeros over here with the cost. Our partners have found that leaving them as zeros is also helpful because it still has all of the stuff where you'd have to type it out and you'd have to select your vendor. This is a way to cut a couple of steps out of that process. Similarly, for the change order fees, you can include any standard fees that you might have for all of your change orders and pay applications. The next here are our common task list. So you can pull these into any opportunity or project. Again, as a rule of thumb, and something that we've seen partners have success with, is including as many things as may come up on a project. So you don't have to go into a new opportunity or a new project and say, oh, these are all the things that might come up. What do we do on that last project? You can just go to your If you've got them all set up in your common tasks, you can go to import tasks. You can pick out the ones that apply. You can just ignore the ones that don't. And then you've got a list of tasks that you can assign out, set due dates, and all of that good stuff for your project. The next couple here are our list of clients. This is similar to what you can find under the CRM tab. The vendors, which is similar to what you can find under the vendors tab over here to the left. So I won't dwell on either one of these, but this is another place where you can find them. Then we've got the design time tab. This compiles all of the design time across any of your opportunities or projects into one place where you can export it out to Excel. One thing I am just going to point out here is it does have a search function, so you can pick a range of dates as needed to search on this. So if you're just looking for the design time for 2019 or just maybe for February, what's been input so far, you can pull that and do what you need to do with it, because you can export it to Excel as well. Last but not least is the logo. So you can put your website URL, and you can also input a logo here, and this logo is going to be what flows through to the top left of all the documents that you produce out of Kinetech. By default, it will just have the Kinetech logo here if you do not have one filled out. So if you do ever need to update your company logo, so if you've had a redesign, you can just upload that here and you will be all set. So we went through the My Account section. We've gone through the My Company part as well. So the next thing that we'll go through is the forecast, and we'll start with the DIRTT forecast. I'll just touch on a couple of things there, and then we'll also take a look at the stuff available to you to help out with your internal forecast. So for the DIRTT forecast, we're actually going to start on this Opportunities tab. Where we'll go for the internal forecast is this Forecast tab. But the reason we're going to focus on this Opportunities tab for the DIRTT forecast is because of these 5 columns here. Over to the right, we have 5 columns for each of the sections of DIRTT products. So when you build up your quote, you can assign a line item for walls or millwork, power and data, floors, or other. And then, of course, we have the total SFN value. The idea here is to be able to export this list and provide that to your DIRTT counterpart directly, and that will give them all the information that they need in order to roll up their forecast across the various different partners in their region and, of course, to their company. One thing I do want to point out here, because I think it's easy to get lost in all of these buttons here at the top, is that there, of course, is a search field. So you can search for a certain subset of opportunities. You can do it by company. So you can say, let's see all the ones affiliated with Rockies. And now we're down to just the 5 that are associated with that one. Or if you are pulling from a specific set of dates, you can do that with the order date. So it's the start order date to the end order date. What's the earliest and latest dates that you want? And you can pull just that part and send it over. I think most of the time when you're providing a forecast, they're almost always just interested in what's going to come in a certain time period versus what's going to come in just generally down the road. The other thing that I'm going to point out here is that there are a bunch of different tabs within this Opportunities Overview page. So by default, you'll land on the All page. The next we've got just for the next 3 months, 3 to 6 months, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, and 12 plus. You can also go to the One tab, so any that have been marked 1 but not yet converted to project. And then this Projects tab here, I think, is pretty handy because it also will show you any of your other stuff like completed or dead projects. So if you do want to go back for historical data, this is a good place to go find it. And of course, we've got these other 3 tabs for lost, inactive, or canceled. So if there's an inactive project that you need to bring back to life, you can go over here, you can find it, open it up, and set it back to its appropriate status. The next thing that I want to go over to is the Forecast tab here. So for the forecast tab, you can see over here on the right-hand side that these are no longer your DIRTT SFN numbers, but they are your linear feet, your cost, your sell, your profit, and your gross profit margin. So the reason I've been referring to this part more as the internal forecast is because these are going to be the numbers that are going to be relevant for your internal stakeholders, versus the opportunities tab is going to show you the numbers that are relevant for your DIRTT stakeholders. They may or may not care what your total sell value is, especially if there's a significant component for non-DIRTT stuff, such as your install, or if you have a bunch of custom items that are going to be outside of the DIRTT piece. So from here, we're going to have a bunch of the same tabs available, so you can break it down by those time periods. By default, again, we're going to have the All tab, the 3 months tab, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12, 12 plus, then our 1 section, and then we also have for our projects here. So I'm going to click over to the project section. So this is going to show us everything that is at the project stage. One thing that is a little bit different about all of these tabs compared to under the forecast tab compared to the opportunities tab is that it's not going to necessarily show you every single project in here. It is going to show you all projects that have a quote that is designated as the forecast attached to it. And you might be wondering to yourself, why do we have a projects tab here and then also a projects tab up here? This projects tab is going to show you a snapshot in time of what the quote was forecasted as when it was converted to project. So this is going to, again, be your snapshot in time of when it was converted to project. So it's going to show you that forecasted quote. And then if you do need to see your current items, you'd come over here to this projects active. And this is going to show you even a little bit more information, because once you are at the project stage, you're going to also have items that come in down the road. So we've got, of course, our final quote, but you also have change orders here, and you have billables. So billables are your margin hit, and then you can see what your profit is now with the project really ongoing. One handy thing is we've got this where's my project, so it's just going to tell you what projects are going to pull through here. Really the most important note here is that a quote must be marked as final, and then completed or dead projects are not included here. So that brings us to the end of the prepared section for today's.